I'm really excited to be with you. We're going to be talking about the gamification of work. So the idea, obviously psychological safety is foundational to that. And the bottom level of psychological safety is inclusion, just in case you have been doing any diversity, equity, and inclusion. But inclusion is just like the baseline. It's the starting point for psychological safety. And it leads us all the way up this great ladder through where people feel heard, and then they feel understood, and then they feel valued. And ultimately, we get to this incredible place, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the first thing we want to talk about is meaning, because it's meaning, connection, and fulfillment. I've been doing leadership development and strategy and executive coaching for the last 30 years. I'm going to give you in the next few minutes the most high leverage tools I have. Okay, this is low investment, high reward. I speak two languages really, really well. One is evolutionary neuropsychology, which is super fun, and the other one is finance. I know all of you get along with your CFOs really well. It's a great relationship. Okay, so the first thing we're going to deal with meaning, connection, and fulfillment. And this is how we build our psychological safety in the organization, and this is where your profit margin lies. First one is meaning. I know that all of you woke up this morning super excited about filling out HR forms and editing your policy manuals and doing exit interviews, right? Because that's your real passion? No. And it's the same for all of your employees too. None of your employees, none of your managers, none of your executives woke up this morning super passionate about what they do for work. Okay, not even Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi wake up passionate about kicking a ball around on grass. Okay, they don't. But they're very good at what they do, and their work is super meaningful. Why? Because what you do for work is very much secondary to why you're doing it and who you're with. And those are the two keys. And I think your previous speaker was just right on the head with that. We have, in psychology, two ingredients for meaning. One is the need to do, and the other is significance. Doing something isn't just enough, right? It has to be significant, not to you, to them, right? So you can dig a hole and fill it in, that's doing something, but all of your ancestors, let's say for the last million years of evolutionary psychology, all of your ancestors earned you the right to be born by successfully surviving this planet. Not a single one of them earned you the right to be born by saying, yeah, I think I've done enough. I'm just going to sit here. No, the world was hard. There was scarcity and violence, and the last million years of tools that are stuck in your head are all designed to help you to do something. But doing anything isn't enough. It has to be significant. It has to be meaningful. And it has to be meaningful to your economic tribe and to you as a person. So for your career trajectory, your financial prospects, you want to have a nice house, a good car, a good education option for your kids. You want to live a high quality life. That's great because you did not wake up passionate about oil and gas or luxury shoes or banking. And that's true of every employee in your organization, not a single one of them woke up passionate about what they do. You know what I think is the most ridiculous economic game in the world? Football. We decided as human beings that we would at some point judge their ability to kick a ball on grass in one direction, while another team of human beings tried to kick it in the other direction. How many people are on a football team, by the way? Anybody? No, that's how many are on the field. How many people are on a football team? Managers, sports therapists, social media, brand guideline people, PR consultants, lawyers, doctors, physiotherapists. Like, we're talking about hundreds of people on a football team. Now, what's really interesting from an evolutionary psychological perspective is how many families are fed every year by the game of football. Hundreds of thousands. Millions of children are educated by the money that is generated by a simple, arbitrary game. A game we made up. We made them all up. We made up the luxury shoes game. We made up the oil and gas game. We made up the logistics game and the hospitality game too. And all of the rules for all of those games, all made up by people not smarter than you. They didn't have access to the kind of information that you did, so yeah, we need to do something, and we need it to be significant. I find that if you can get your employees to answer two really simple questions, that's the key to unlocking their discretionary effort, and that's really what you want, right? And the answer to the two questions is, why are you here and why are you here? The first one is, why are you here and not somewhere else? We don't have victims, we don't have slaves, and we don't have idiots in our organization. Every single one of your employees, managers, and executives is an apex predator. All of them are the result of 10,000 successful generations of survival and adaptation. They are doing exactly what they think is the best, fastest, most effective way for them to achieve their personal goals for their personal lives. Okay, we can't underestimate that. They're doing exactly what they should be doing. Because only an idiot would be doing what they know is not the best, fastest, most effective way for them to achieve their personal goals for their personal lives. If there was a better, faster way, they'd be doing that. They're not doing that. They're doing this, so this must be the best way forward. That's question one. Second question is, why are you here and not someone else? Our recruiting processes are stupid and inefficient because we don't hire qualified people. If all we really wanted was qualified people, we could put 500 CVs through the ATS. It filters it down to like 25. We have a little look. We take the 10 most qualified people, and what do we do with them? We immediately send all of them offer letters, and then the first one to respond gets the job, right? No. That would be efficient if we hired qualified people. But we don't hire qualified people. We talk to qualified people. Everybody we interview is already qualified. We don't waste our time talking to people that aren't qualified. So everyone is qualified from a CV perspective. When we talk to them, we interview them. What is the purpose of the interview? It's to find out what's not on the CV. What is that? What do we call that? Culture, character, good fit. Somebody sits across from somebody else and says, oh yeah, that's the kind of person we need on our team in this role. And kind of person doesn't appear on your CV. Good fit doesn't appear on your CV. It's a million-year-old rule. You want to share in the resources of our tribe, you're going to have to add value. And you're going to have to be a good fit for our tribe. That's why they're here and not someone else. That is meaning. The need to do something that's significant. The second one is connection. We are social animals. We have to be doing things together. And I know there's hustle, 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 and it's me, 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 and it's very individualistic these days, but you can't even get through a single day of your life without interacting with at least 100 other lives, maybe more. Okay? Strictly speaking, individualism among humans is fatal. You can't do it. You can't hunt and gather for yourself. You can't plant. We live in a desert. Okay? You're going to need 1,000 people to get through your year just to survive. So the second thing we need is connection. And all of our ancestors earned us the right to be born by connecting really well with people. Oh, I was very loved as a child. I don't know if you grew up in a loving home. I was raised in a loving home. It was super annoying. It was irritating because every morning my mom's like, oh, I love you, son. My dad, too, would come give me a big hug and he'd say, I love you, son. I'd be like, Dad, it's embarrassing. I'm 49 years old now. You need to stop. Yeah, so I was raised in a really loving home, and we were told, love your brothers and sisters, love your neighbors. And I went to church, so our pastor would tell us you have to love your neighbors yourself, and you have to love one another. And that's how I grew up. I grew up believing that this was the kind of world that we lived in, but it was all a lie. It was a lot because, you know what happens? I grew up and I became an adult. And as an adult, I went to work. And then I started to participate in these organizations with people that I was not supposed to love. I spent half of my life every day with a bunch of people. It would be completely inappropriate if by some horrible happenstance I actually just loved the people that I was working with. I definitely should not tell them because that is deeply unprofessional. So there I was, 30 years in corporate life, secretly loving people. And never telling them because it's unprofessional. Until one day about 6 years ago here in Dubai, I was working with a major multinational, about $600 million company, and I was talking to the CEO. We were doing strategy and restructuring for them, and it was going to impact the lives of a few of their SVPs and VPs really significantly, and there was going to be a human cost. And it tortured him and me. We spent about 45 minutes on the phone. I was in the parking lot. He was up in the office. It was on a Friday afternoon, and we made some really significant decisions about restructuring, what we're going to do with the organization, and how to mitigate the impact on these amazing people. And at the end of the conversation, because it was so emotional, because it was so much a part of the community and the culture of that organization, at the very end, I said, okay, thanks, man. Great conversation. I'll see you on Monday. I love you. And I reached down in panic because I'm trying to press the red button on my phone to close it off because, no. And then I heard it through the tiny little speaker as I'm lowering my phone to try to reach the red button. His voice. Excellent work, Corrie. See you Monday. I love you too. We never spoke of it again. I read 100 books a year easily on leadership. I'm reading books about empathy from Simon Sinek, about psychological safety by Amy Edmondson, about trust and inspiration from Stephen Covey. But where is the book on the highest form of all of those things? What's the highest form of trust and belonging and shared values and psychological safety and empathy? What's the highest form of those things? We have a word for that. Love is the shortcut. Love is it's wired into all of you. Love is what earned you the right to be born. Your ancestors survived this planet by knowing who loved them and knowing who didn't. And so do you. And I know we can't say it out loud in the office because it's deeply unprofessional, but I'll tell you what I did. About 2 years ago, I started to sign off all of my emails, love Corrie, to everyone. Vendors, suppliers, clients, members of the royal family, ministers of government. That's it. Love Corrie. Even if I was angry when I wrote the email, love Corrie. I just decided arbitrarily I just want to put a little bit of love into like everything that I did professionally. Nobody seems to mind. I haven't been reported to any HR departments that I'm aware of. Maybe you could do that too? I've been running the experiment for 2 years now. It's fine. Okay, so look, what do you think is going to happen? Right? If you like sign off all your emails, love George or love Susan. But what do you think might happen if maybe all of us started doing it? And then what do you think might happen if maybe 1 million of us started to do it, or 10 million of us started to do it? Do you think we might be a little more humans, not resources, if we started to do it? I don't know. Connection. In the human brain, we measured the need to do in a chemical. Do you know what the doing chemical is, anybody? That's right, dopamine. Dopamine is the doing chemical. It's the thing that helps you to get things done and rewards you for getting things done. But significance is different when you're happy, when you see something that you like, when you experience a sunrise, when you accomplish something meaningful. That's another chemical. Do you know what that chemical is? Serotonin. Perfect. That's great. When you connect with someone, when you make eye contact, when you feel that trust and belonging and love and culture, and that belonging to each other, do you know what that chemical is? Oxytocin. That's correct. And number 3 is fulfillment. Meaning has to come first. Why are you here and why are you here? Then connection. If you're connected really well with the team that you're playing on, it doesn't matter the game that you're in. It's going to be fun. But what makes it most fun is once you have your do and your significance and your connection is fulfillment. I have, I don't know if any of you have seen me on LinkedIn. You should connect with me on LinkedIn. My profile is a week long. It's horrible. But I've kind of done a lot in my life. I've started companies and written books, and all of the things that I've done that were really, really meaningful, really impactful, did not make me happy. And I think if we measure happiness, we're measuring the wrong thing, because happiness is super easy. Any combination of sugar, fat, and salt, any easy drip feed of dopamine. So if you want to be happy, right? Big Mac, Instagram. That's happiness. That's the neurochemistry of happiness. But the stuff that I did in my life that was really super fulfilling, writing books, doing postgraduate degrees, starting companies, raising kids. I've got 5 kids. Anybody got kids? That did not make me happy. It's like 15% pure joy and 85% really hard work. And this is what's really cool about working in a team with a bunch of apex predators. Every one of you is the latest iteration in 10,000 generations of a successfully improving survival and adaptation machine. You and all of your employees are capable of way more than you think. And if you get these three lined up, the challenge of doing something that you're not quite sure you can do earns you the right to endorphins. That is the fourth neurochemical of fun. This is how all humans in all cultures, in all languages experience fun. It is a combination of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. We can trigger it in a lot of different ways, but if you want to trigger it at work, this is how you do it. Help them to be clear about why they're there and why we chose them to be on our team. Help make what they do matter, not to you, to them. Connect with them in a way that's meaningful to them. And we know from the Gallup studies that I'm sure you've heard of it, right? 50,000 business units, 147 industries, 1.4 million employee records. Those employees, or actually those companies whose employees feel more connected with their work, more engaged in their work, those companies have 41% less turnover and 41% less absenteeism and 59% less turnover. They're 17% higher performing and 21% more profitable. And 70% of the variance on all of those things comes down to a single relationship in the organization. Do you know what it is? It's the manager. 70%. Comes down to the amount of oxytocin that is produced in the mind of an employee when they are speaking to their line manager. That's where your margin is. You want to do more with less? That's where it is. You want people to work in the dark? That's where it is. You want them to develop themselves? That's where it is. You want to play in the Premier Leagues and a Premier League football team? That is 1,000,000 years old. There's no software for that. You were born with that. All of us were. If we get this right, yes, there's benefits to the organization. People who feel connected, they take 2 less leave days every year. They work an extra hour a week of discretionary effort, which is an extra week's worth of work every year. Yes, but they also live happier, healthier, and longer lives, statistically speaking, and their companies make more money. And I think that is an amazing thing to talk about. Thank you so much for giving me a few moments of your life. I hope it was meaningful, because you're never going to get this time back.